Hey guys, Giovanna here. I want to talk to you today about something that we've all heard in the new vernacular of this social digital age that we're in, called ghosting and breadcrumbing. Have you guys heard of this? I'm sure you have. It's not new. It's been happening for probably millennia, for as long as people have been around. I'm sure it happened even in the caveman days that people were ghosted and breadcrumbed. Now, what does that mean? Ghosting is literally just like it sounds. People fall off the face. This could happen with friends. It could happen with someone you're dating. Unfortunately, I've heard of this happening for people that have been in full-blown relationships with people and suddenly they just fall off the face. And breadcrumbing, probably even, it's hard to say which one's worse, but I'm going to say from experience, breadcrumbing is worse. And I want to break this down for you today. So, hello again. I'm Giovanna. I'm a relationship coach. I'm a success coach, speaker. I host a podcast called Reassess podcast. And today I wanted to dive into this topic with you. I actually want to hear from you. Has this happened to you? Have you been ghosted? Have you been breadcrumbed? How did you handle it? What were the insights that you got from it for yourself? What were the lessons that you learned? So here's what I learned. And here's why I just briefly said that breadcrumbing is perhaps even more toxic. And this is why. Ghosting, if someone falls off the face, it brings up all of your pain, all of your abandonment stuff. You don't know what happened. It's really hard. You can't get closure. But in a way, our mind will find a way to justify it. And I've seen people move on quicker from that type of situation. Now, breadcrumbing, that's a different story. Breadcrumbing is this. You are either in a relationship with someone who is giving you the bare minimum of their time, of their attention, of their vulnerability, their emotions, their emotional availability. They're just barely giving you the bare minimum. They're giving you just enough to keep you hooked in, but not enough for you to feel safe in the relationship and for you to feel fulfilled in the relationship. Now, this can happen when you're in a long-standing relationship. This can happen when you're dating someone. This even happens in friendships, okay? And breadcrumbing is so toxic because there's a part of you, and I'm sure if you guys are listening to this and you are empaths and really sensitive people, you're gonna get this. There's a part of you that wants to believe the best in the person, right? There's a part of you that wants to make the excuses for them and say, well, I get it. I know they're busy. Work has been rough or this is going on. I get it. And we want to be understanding as human beings. We want to not be selfish and really understand the person's point of view. But here's the problem with that, or here's the trick with that. The trick is that what you're essentially saying when you are constantly making excuses for someone is you're saying your life, your needs, your desires are more important than mine. That's what we say when we put up with someone who's breadcrumbing. We're also basically saying, hey, I don't value myself enough or my time to ask for more, to expect more, to require more of you as my partner. I don't value myself enough for that. And that in and of itself is part of why breadcrumbing is so toxic, because we are constantly putting the other person's needs first. We are putting ourselves last. We are accepting excuses, and we don't feel valuable enough to step up and say, I need this, and it's legitimate. Here's one thing I learned from being in all these kinds of relationships, is that having needs does not make you needy. If you are a woman and you're listening to this and you've had a man say to you, you're so needy, or, oh my God, you want so much, you're so high maintenance, kick him to the curb. Kick him to the curb. Because if a man tells you that, if anyone tells you that, what they're doing is they're not validating you. They are basically poo-pooing the fact that you have any kinds of needs that are above theirs, or not even above theirs, but any needs that they should be addressing. They're, in a sense, gaslighting you. And if you haven't heard that term, that's when someone essentially at its worst makes you think that the problem is you're the crazy one, and everything's fine with them. Now, there's much more to that term and to the dynamic of someone that's going to gaslight you, but Essentially, for the purposes of this live, that's what it is. So having needs does not make you needy. You need to hear that. The first time a coach said that to me, it was like that mind blown emoji. I was like, what? Oh my God, that's a revelation. I didn't even know that was possible. Having needs does not make you needy. Expressing your needs to another person and not having them hear you, see you, validate you, and sit with what you're asking them and take responsibility for their side, that is a form of gaslighting. And that is what comes with a relationship that involves breadcrumbing. So if you are right now in a relationship where you're getting the bare minimum of someone's attention, and look, this happens in the best of relationships because guess what? People are busy. People have careers. People have kids. So sometimes it happens that even with your husband, your wife, someone that you've been in, you can be breadcrumbing and not even knowing. You could be giving them this bare minimum. Address it. Stop. Slow down. Reassess where your priorities are. Are you successful in the top 5 areas of your life that you've identified you need to be successful in order to feel fulfilled? And if one of those areas is relationship and you're realizing that you are the breadcrumber, meaning you are not giving enough of your time, attention, you're not investing in this relationship like you should be or want to be, guess what? It's going to show. It's going to reflect back in how the other person feels and how they behave. So if you're the breadcrumber, ask yourself these questions. Maybe you need to reassess. There's no shame or blame here. This happens to the best of us. My hair is out of control today. It's all over my face. So this is something that we need to be mindful of, both as the people who could potentially be the breadcrumber, and most of all, for those of you listening, if you are receiving breadcrumbs, if your spouse, if the person you're dating, if your friends even are giving you the bare minimum of attention, time, emotional availability, making you feel important, making you feel like a priority, most of all, making you feel or helping you to feel safe in this relationship, then it's time to reassess. It's time to ask for what you need. It's time to remember the mantra that having needs does not make you needy. Say it with me. Having needs does not make you needy. What you want and what you desire in a relationship is to feel safe, to feel heard, to be seen, and most of all, to remember your value. Yes, you can do that on your own. Yes, you must work on that on your own. But if you're with someone who is not reminding you of that, chances are you're going to be in a relationship that's going to feel unsafe and unsteady. And that is going to mess with your nervous system. It's going to mess with an essential form of attachment anxiety that many of us have. I'm going to say 90% of the population, if not more. And that's going to mess with your neurology. It's going to mess with your nervous system, and you are not going to feel safe in this relationship. You're not going to feel seen. And guess what? It's not going to last anyway. So if you're afraid to speak up for your needs because you think you might rock the boat and maybe the relationship won't last, guess what? Do you want it to last the way it is right now? And it's going to end anyway, whether you do it or they do it, if you're not feeling this connection, if you're not feeling this fulfillment. So that's breadcrumbing. That's why I think breadcrumbing is even more toxic than ghosting. If this is you, if this was you, if you got over this, if you learned how to deal with this and navigate this in a way, is it me, or like is just out of control today? So distracting for me today. But if this is you and you have been going through this, or you have experienced this and you've come out the other side, if you've had an aha, or if you just had one listening to this, I want to hear from you. Post in the comments. Let me know, how have you handled breadcrumbing? How have you handled ghosting? What personal insights have you received for yourself? Let's share. Let's have a conversation. And here's an amazing thing. This Wednesday on my podcast, I am featuring an amazing doctor, Dr. Marnie Feuerman. She's going to be talking to us about her new book, which is called Ghosted and Breadcrumbed. We have a really cool conversation this week on She Rises, so stay tuned for that. If you're not already subscribed to She Rises podcast, go to iTunes, subscribe there. You'll get notified of all the new episodes. And stay tuned to my channel because you'll get all the information there as well. And you will continue this conversation. So I want to hear from you. Have you been ghosted? Have you been breadcrumbed? How did you handle it? What insights did you take away from that experience? And What insights have you taken away from this particular live right now? And repeat the mantra, having needs does not make you needy.